need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it, it's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
And shalom, shalom, shalom. Good day to each and every one of you. Welcome to the Proceeding Word. Yours truly, Apostle V.W. Jones Sr., right here with you in this moment in time. So glad to be with you for the purpose of understanding that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. Looking forward to a program that will bring edification and enlightenment to your hearts, minds, and souls. My job is to make sure that we do that within the concepts of the construct of his word, contextually. Well, today's broadcast is again one that many will look at and just think it's some general issue. Today, I want to show you how to become successful in all that you do. I want you to remember there is a reason that we're still looking for the next big thing, the next trend, the next movement. Is that what you want? Is that where you need to be? I want to make sure you understand it greater than anything and anybody else. What's that mean? Well, I'm going to pray, and after I pray, we're going to have our moderators prepare themselves to come on platform and then give us what is necessary to know how, in fact, and what, in fact, we do here. I just got stumbled on my words, but we're going to figure it out. Let's pray. Yahweh, we thank you today for life, health, hope, and strength. Thank you for the opportunity and the activity of limb, the activity of mind, the activity, Father, of our very souls and hearts. We do bless you, we do exalt you, and we extol you in all things that come from you and are you. Our lives are in your hands. So today, we take opportunity, if we forgot earlier, to repent for anything that could have transgressed your will for our lives. And we're asking you now to be with us, to be in us, to be toward us, for your name's sake and for your praise. To you be glory, honor, dominion, and might. I decrease all things that are VW, that all things Adonai might come to the forefront. We digress, that you increase. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we want to live, and we live by you. Have your way in us. We bless you forevermore. We say, Amen. All right, as we always do at our housekeeping, we want you, if you came in on the Facebook, if you came in on the live streams, I want you to go hit that heart sign, please, or hit the thumb sign, and then make a comment. That will help us with our algorithms. Y'all know what we need to do. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on the live stream, please do that. Subscribe to the page, like the page, whichever one gives you that option. This way, and receive the alerts. Ask to receive the alerts. And whenever we go live, you'll be alerted when we go live. Same for you on Clubhouse. If you're in Clubhouse, hit that green button or that green little Monopoly thing above my head or next to me or whatever that looks like up there. Hit that green Monopoly house. It'll let you like the page, and I believe you'll receive notifications whenever we go live. But you can also, if you're on Clubhouse, like my PTR, hit and like me, follow me. When you follow me, whenever I go live in any other atmosphere or arena on that application, you'll know when we're speaking. And we're so grateful for those of you who trust the words that we share from the writ with you to the point that it affects and helps you to govern your life through practical applications and the testimonies of one who messes up and succeeds in the word as much as you do. All right, so let's get started with that. Do I have a moderator that can tell me why we are here? And so with that being said, we'll just keep it on moving. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we all understand what things come from the word of Elohim, and we want to bless Elohim for all those things that come from him. Again, simple stuff: air, water, activity of limbs. But without these things, we have nothing. We are nothing. So today's topic is going to be coming from what it is that we've begun to do. In the world of social media, in the world of monetizing media presence and digital clout, I don't come against digital clout. I don't come against street cred. I don't come against anything that gives you and makes you shine. I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to shine. We should shine together. I want to see you win. But I want to talk to people who are in business. I want to talk to people who are entrepreneurs. I want to talk to people who are, even if you're wrong, or let's say you are in your right calling, maybe you're in ministry or you are doing something that requires you to be heard and you to be seen. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to pause here. I want every moderator to tag, turn this chats on, and I want every moderator to ping in all of our moderators to this room today and all of our leaders and ministers into this room today, because everybody needs to get this word today. All right. Put our replays on if they're not on. But I want to turn the chats back on. I want y'all to come in because we really need to get some traction on this. So our title is The Next Big Thing. If you're on Facebook, feel free to share this as well. I hope that you would, because you're going to need this. It's going to be important. So hear this, understand this, and embrace this. We are so caught up in trying to be the next big and great and mighty thing based on the templates and the genres of supposed perceived success that we've allowed ourselves in many instances to sell our souls. We'll sell our souls for popularity. We will sell our morality for financial appearance of freedom. We will sell our souls with a path believed to get us to the high places in the earth to where we can control a world and have sustainability on our own. But I want to make sure that we give this warning today to all people. I had a conversation earlier today with a group who felt so compelled to do anything and serve any way its people that it was providing a service for, that they literally served themselves into a deficit, and they served themselves into a dry place that could never, without the help of Elohim, recoup and no longer be a fallowed ground, a desert place. But they served themselves into a place that caused them the very thing they didn't want. It caused them to be depraved. Let's talk about that. Look at the word of Elohim. We're going to go to the book of Psalms. I'm going to share my screen again with those of you who are viewing online. I think it's necessary for you to hear this and see this. And some of you are at work, so I want to help you not have to go and find your Bibles and all of that goes with that. I want to share with you where we are so you can be there as well. Psalms chapter 127. I want you to look at this and I want you to read it slow with me. Except Yahweh, the I am that I am, build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except Yahweh keep the city, the watchman wakes, but in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows. For so he gives his beloved sleep. Lo, children are an heritage of Yahweh, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of your youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. I hope that you guys have invited some friends. I hope that you've shared this particular page, because this is going to help many of you stop fighting, trying to be what you perceive as popular in the new, as we say, big trend, next big movement, next big thing culture. Except Yahweh builds the house, any of us laboring without his purpose behind our build, we are laboring in vain. It sounds good to preach it. Now let's talk about what it looks like practically living it. Oh, it sounds good when you preaching and you hoop and holler, except God build the house, they that labor in vain. Come on and get on the Lord's side. It's all good. It's a real good preach. Oh, it will preach. But here's the catch. It's more than just a preach. It's a lifestyle. If Yahweh doesn't build the house, you and I who are laboring, we labor in vain, because it's not his building. It becomes our building. It becomes our empire. Well, what's wrong with building my own empire, Apostle? Nothing. Do that. Be industrial. Occupy this world until he comes. Watch this. In business, be men. But I want to make sure you understand something about this. If the vision is not a vision where Yahweh can have his hands, number one, on you, so your hands can manage it, the labor you put forth will never amass or amount to anything near close to what Yahweh could do for you when you do it. I'm finding that people right now are kissing the backside of its consumers so that its consumers can support them. I want to make sure you understand this from both a leader in the kingdom and a old school and present day relative business owner. To have success in life, when you can provide a commodity that fixes a chronic problem, success is inevitable. If you have a product and a service to that product that can solve the chronic problem that affects the general public at large, you have a great opportunity to be successful and literally launch into a place where you can provide for yours and help bless and be a blessing to others. That's just the real basic template. When you have that opportunity to provide customer service and quality product must go hand in hand. They must be married. So when I say my next statement, do not think that I am telling you customer service should be foregone at any point. But understanding service is a necessity. If you have a commodity that is in fact effective, you don't have to sell it. It will sell itself. And once you have a commodity that's effective, those who have benefited from its efficacy will not need you to sell it to them. They will automatically gravitate, know what they want, procure it at whatever the costs, of course, within the price of concessions. They may even shop around, but that product, they want it, and you don't have to sell it because it sells itself. Let me give you an analogy of what I mean by that. As a business owner of multiple products in my time in my life as a manager and high level manager for other places who provided commodities from alcohol to insurance to fire prevention to security to a myriad of things. To the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach. Watch. I never liked salespeople. Never did. I don't mind you being a salesman, meaning you have the gift of gab and you know how to get a point across. And some people use that very positive trait in a very negative, slick Willie, oil can Sam kind of way to shyster and to deprive people and to devour the means of people to the benefit of the actual salesman. That's why it looks bad when you talk about a used car salesman, right? Because they got to know how to talk to get you past the fact that there's a big dent on the trunk of this car. And for me to walk off that lot with it, you had to be one heck of a salesman. Okay. So that's the nature and that's the actual image of the used car salesman. Many pastors and leaders are considered used car salesmen. I never wanted to ever be a salesman. So when I go into a store to buy something, I don't want a salesman coming over near me. Don't do it. I'm in the store with something in mind, even if I am just window shopping and I don't know what I want. When I walk into your establishment that has displays, whether they're point of sale, whether they are beautifully put together, mannequins trying to promote an image and a style, or a kiosk that's promoting a new technology, let me peruse it. Let me look at it. Let me see if it benefits me. And if it benefits me, you don't have to say a word. Your display did it. Do not come to me trying to sell me parts about this or give me information you don't think I understand until I ask you. Now, when I ask you, customer service implored. Now, until I do, don't come for me because you're going to miss my sale, even if I want it and I find that it's beneficial for me, because you encroached on my space, having no sense of discernment that I want quiet time to observe this. And if I need more information, I know you're there. I'll call you then. So until I call you outside of saying hi, thanks for having me in your store, and you saying, hey, thanks for coming to visit our store. Hey, thank you. Let me look around. I'll chat with you in a few. Now, if we've had that conversation, that's appropriate. By the time I walk around and you just come say, hey, can I help you with anything? That's cool. But don't come over pushing information in my head when I'm trying to process what it is I'm dealing with. Now I'm looking at you as someone simply concerned with your commission, simply concerned with making sure your store stays open from the sale of this product that you put out, which means this may be a product that you have only because you've heard from the bottom line that it is popular, it can sell. You may not have produced this out of the heart of you for the community to solve a problem. To me, maybe not to you, that's a big thing. So if this product is in here only because it makes money, I don't want to hear from you. I'll tell you if I want that option. But if this product is in here because it serves a problem, it fixes a problem, you don't have to say anything to me. Just let it demonstrate. Your kiosk or your mannequin should demonstrate that, right? Now, when I'm going to you, I'm going into your product, I'm looking at it. When I see that it does what it does, you don't have to convince me. You just did. Hey, can I see you? Do you have this in my size? Do you have this in other sizes? Will this fit in my space? Can I try this on? Can I work these channels? Could you show me how to get to the next place on here? That's customer service. Okay. That's not salesmanship. That's customer service. Salesmanship should be in the kiosk, in the actual mannequin, in the display. When you are asked the question, be ready to render an answer. Now, The need for this commodity is what built this business. And you won't ever have a problem having to churn or having repeat business because it serves a purpose. Now, here's the point. I was in business and I bought these two businesses. One of them was I'm going to do it. I don't have to. I'm going to do it anyway. One of them was Primerica. I got into that very heavy, very deeply when I was younger. And because of the fact that Primerica was an insurance program that many people benefited from, and some people didn't know how to use it and just did it because it was supposed to be a new trend, the next big thing for small people who wanted to have their own company, have their own business, and have something with the backing of big organizations. But you did it at an MLS level, right? I despise MLS. I despise MLM, not MLS, that's real estate, MLM, multi-level marketing. I just despise it. And so I got the company, and because I understood in my world of sacerdotal duties that people were dying, and then as I come along as a minister, helping the family get through the grieving and mourning process, they're also having to pass the basket to pay for the final arrangements for that human being that they loved. So what would happen is I'd have to watch them pass the basket, pass the hat, as we say in America, or pass the offering plate to see who will contribute to either putting this person in the ground in a casket with a, interment, or even the less expensive version, cremation. I'm watching this on a 70% rate of the people in the communities that I serve do this. So it hit me, my co-laborers and co-partners in a different arena and different, financial space and even race space and even faith space, they're not having these pass the hat moments as blatantly as we are demonstrating them in the communities that I serve. So I understood that insurance was a huge thing. And I'm going to give this right now. Y'all mind if I give y'all a piece of insurance advice right now? This is free. You don't need me to give this. I'm not trying to tell you where to go. I am no longer in that business, but I understand it. So I do have some peers who are in the business. I'm not here to promote them. I won't say their names, but if you want to know, you contact me later. I'll put you in touch with them, who I recommend highly. Can I give y'all some free advice? Christians. No?
Yes.
I'm going to do y'all better than y'all just asked for. I'm not going to get in my feelings about it. I'm going to give it to y'all. What I found out was other counterparts that I have relationships with didn't have to pass baskets to bury their dead. They had insurance policies. But because of the way that we was raised in our communities, when someone says, "Hey, mom, I'd like to get an insurance policy on you," our initial thought is that someone's trying to cash in on our death. And they should. On your death, not be the reason you end up in the grave, because you can't leave here until Yahweh says so. But we know the stories of the negative portrayals of people having insurance and being killed, as we believe, for the benefits of the insurance, right? Get past that negative narrative, because that is so far in between and so far and so few of a reality. But the people who have a great deal of success in society, when a loved one dies in their family, they get a cash value for that person. It's called insurance. So every family should have every person in your family insured by every person in your family. And so if you have a household, you have a husband and a wife, then the husband and the wife should have an insurance policy that is 10 times the value of their annual income, so that when one should depart, until death do us part. The other is not having to find ways to actually fill in the financial lack that now exists because one is dead and that income is gone. Oh, but they had a retirement plan. Oh, but they did have a Roth IRA or a 401k or a benefit for death. But you need to have an insurance plan that covered them for 10 years of their salary so that at least the next 10 years you can still live the same way you are right now until you can process through the grief and the mourning of losing this person, and you don't have to end up in relationships because you have financial deficiency. I gave y'all something far greater than you're going to say amen to. So because of insurances and the way that we have now put a stigma over the ideal of being insured in your family, you should be talking to your grandma and your grandfather. You should be talking to your auntie and your uncle. You should be talking to your children, and your children should be talking to their siblings. You should have, if you can afford, an insurance policy on everybody you deem near to you. There adds a value that if in fact any of us should decease, we don't have to be passing the basket, and I may be able to come out of this scenario. This is not about making wealth, but this is how wealth is being made in communities you guys don't even pay attention to. When someone passes away, everybody gets paid. The reason that certain cultures, unlike our Christian cultures, when they have their funerals, there's not as much crying. There's a whole lot more dignity when they're sitting there. And I do funerals all over this world. And they have a bit more dignity. If you go behind the scenes after at the repast, you'll find out, well, he died, daddy died. And when we go to see the attorneys, the will has been left, the insurance, I get a portion of the insurance. My sister gets a portion of the insurance. The insurance covered this funeral. So they don't have any stress. They're not trying to climb into the casket. Oh, you're gone. What am I going to do? No, they prepared for it. You prepared for it. There is insurance in place to cover the real need that stands out the most in the death of a loved one. What am I going to do? How am I going to carry on? You at least have this cushion for 5-10 years of that person's salary, if it's your spouse. And you can know for the next 5 years, okay, we at least live okay the same way we are. We're not going to lose and go down. I'll miss the person. I'll miss the engagement. The hierarchy of needs, that's going to be affected. But financially, I don't have to sell my soul because you're gone to someone who sees I have a financial need, and now they come in and add a different value to my life. So here's the catch. You have to have insurance. So what I would do is go to our communities and explain to them and share to them, here is what makes other communities profitable. Every time someone passes away, there is, in most cases, an insurance payout for the death of a child, a husband, a wife, a grandmom, a mom, whatever. And the people are the beneficiaries of it. But because there is a payment, we have a problem with it, and we think we can't afford it, but you really can't afford not to do it. Okay, I'm done teaching y'all insurance. So the point of bringing insurance in was because it was a company I got involved in. But what made people buy it and made us successful was the fact that we would explain that process. And once you hear it, you're like, oh, snap, just on GP, that makes sense. How can I need to get a policy on my mom. I need to get a policy on my dad. I need to get a policy on my spouse at those levels and increments. And they would sign up for policies. Now, whether they remain consistent and kept the policies in 20 years, I can't say it. But you understood the problem that it fixed. I did not have to sell you. I just had a demonstration, explained it to you, and boom, people say, sign me up. That's successful. I had another company inside that company or attached to that company, and it was for a fire extinguisher. You guys remember fire extinguishers? Y'all got fire extinguishers in your home. Every home should have at least 3, right? Fire extinguishers, the red thing that put out fires in the kitchen and electrical fires and electrical shop in your garage. You should have a fire extinguisher. It shoots out foam and it kills the fire. Do y'all know what a fire extinguisher is? I need to know. Do y'all know so I can finish?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
there was a period of time when I was, involved, and there was a company that was out, and they were called Halon, Halon. I'm not with them anymore, but I will not tell you the benefit of this. Well, there are certain fires: a grease fire, a water fire, an electrical fire. They all burn differently. They all use different um, 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 fuel, as it were, to burn. Okay. But they all have one common fuel. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if it's an oil fire, then it's oil. An oil fire, if it gets on water, can carry and spread. A wood or paper fire, you can kill that with water. But if you got an oil fire, you can't kill it with water. So they came up with this foam to smother it. But then you foamed it, it killed the fire, but then you got foam everywhere. I mean, your day's cleaning out the foam. So here's the catch. And you have this foam, it fixes the problem, but it's really barbaric. Well, and then some of those foams don't deal with oil fires. Some of those foams don't deal with electrical fires. So as you understand the foam and the hide and the exterminators, extinguishers, fire extinguishers, there was one that came out. It was called Halon, and this Halon was a gas. This gas was effective in taking out the one common fuel to every fire you and I will ever encounter, and that's oxygen. So for me, I would simply make a display, put it on demonstration at any given place, and work this from this purpose. We will pray for you guys, Joseph, Pastor Joseph. Thanks for letting us know. Contact me in the back channels. Moderators, please, Facebook. Contact me in the back channels. We'll make sure we pray with you and whatever your needs may be. So in this fire extinguisher issue, we would put a demonstration together. We would do paper fire, which is like matches, children playing with matches, stuff like that. And then we would do oil fires, like a cooking experience, and maybe grease popping somewhere and getting on dishwater and then spreading throughout the house. And then we would do electrical fires. They come from electricity and static and what have you, and that's a different fuel. So I would just demonstrate the fires, demonstrate the foams, and you would see which foam put out the fires and which foams it didn't put out. And you think, because you got an extinguisher, you got all the foam you need. And then I'd hit them with the halon on. I light all the fires at the same time and hit halon once, and it put all three fires out. I don't have to sell that to you. I just got to demonstrate it. So in demonstrating it, you know whether you need that to replace all the fire extinguishers you have, and you now know what works and solves a real problem. I can do that. My third company that I got involved in, I didn't mean to get involved in this company. It was never designed for me to have it as a company because it was a need in my life. So I needed to make sure my house didn't burn down. That's why I got the halon. I needed to make sure that my family would be provided for if I die. That was the insurance. And I understood it, and I could demonstrate it to make it something that was profitable and solve other people's problems. The third business I got into, I needed to, because I was on drugs. I was shooting bad morally, and I needed this assurance. And that was what you now know me in, and that's the ministry. But the ministry, I'm not in it for glory, for fame, and for money. I'm in ministry for life. And I didn't intend to get in ministry at the level I'm at. I had no intentions that I would be what I am today. I just wanted to find a place that solved the problems of my life: the depression, the suicide attempts, the drug addictions, the control freak, the all the different things that go on morally in one's mind. I just wanted to live it. And apparently, as I really got into it and started understanding it and applying it to my life, solving problems, other people witnessed it, That's how I got into ministry. I was pulled into it by people because they wanted me to help them do what I was doing in their sight on a regular basis. Welcome to the ministry. Nothing to do about money. Then, as we learn the writ, there are provisions for actual gatherings, what Yahweh calls for it, and that's how you come into ministry. That's how I got into what I'm doing. Now, it takes a different meaning. But the thing that made this successful was I never had to sell this. Just like some of you viewing and listen today, I don't have to sell to you because I'm living it, and you hear me demonstrate it, and you hear us understand it, and you say, oh, I get what you're saying now. That's what that meant, because the other group told me this, they told me that. We're always selling something. So those three analogies that I just used up 15 minutes to bring to table will deal with what we mean in Psalms 127. I only was successful in those areas because those issues literally served the problem, solved the problem. I didn't do it because I was looking for the next big thing. I stumbled into insurance sales because it solved the problem in my life, and others asked me how I did it, and someone saw me explaining it and said, hey, won't you come and help us make that display? Same thing for Halon, same thing for ministry. Now, I let the Halon, I let the insurances go. I just share that off of general because my whole focus now is how does the word of Elohim help us live our lives better and get us to what we all hope for, that place of eternal rest. But the point to it all is that except Elohim builds the house, any of us laboring in those areas for selfish means, we're going to labor in vain. Now, today, if I can transition, we found ourselves in this place where we're always saying, well, we got to be entrepreneurs and we got to be successful in life. That's very true. And so we start following somebody else's model, and we use this phraseology, don't reinvent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So fine, don't reinvent the wheel. Use the wheel to help transport and help you to get from point A to point B. But what you're transporting becomes your issue. Somebody made the wheel. Maybe you can make the back walls and the wagon that go on the wheels. Someone made the steering wheel. Someone made the actual caboose. But the point is, we have begun so much to take on other people's creations and enhance them. As I talked to you guys the other day about just be, I think it was on Monday, just be you. You're unique, you're wonderful, you're fearfully, you're wonderfully made. Be you. We have ourselves in a culture now full of branding. Brand yourself. I don't disagree with that, but I don't think it has to go to the extent that we do it. And that's just my personal preference. I never tell you not to vibe with that, but be careful while you're doing it, that you don't lose yourself in it. And losing yourself in it means that you get so caught up in trying to meet someone else's goal of how they say branding should go of you, that you lose the voice of Elohim in the process. Except Elohim builds you. Those of us who labor to build ourselves will labor in vain. We will be literally used up, literally tolerating abuse for the purpose of a far-fetched ideal of success that can never be attained on that path where Yahweh is not building and trailing and cutting out your trail. So when we look for the next big thing, when we look for the next big trend, we look for the next big movement, we've now sold ourselves over to just that. Verse number 1. Except Yahweh build the house. That word build is the word banal. It means except he actually makes, sets up. or even for that matter, repairs what's been set up, except he begins it. Those of us who labor, those of us who toil at it, who work severely and with irksomeness, we will labor in vain. The word vain is the word shavah, okay? Shav. And that means that we will be in a destructive mode. Literally, we'll be working in ruin. There'll be no success. It'll be vanity. So except Yahweh builds the house, they that build it and labor to build it will labor in vain. Except Yahweh keep the city, the watchman waketh in vain. So when we start putting ourselves in a state where we want to be branded and we want to be all that we need to be, we're looking for the next big thing, the next big movement, the next big trend. If Yahweh doesn't build it, thank you, Ruach, because I almost forgot one of the main points for why I did this broadcast. A trend is a trend. A movement is a movement. The next big thing has a shelf life. You don't want to look for the next flash in the pan. You may benefit from it. You might get a nice ROI rate or return on your investment in a flash in the pan, a new witty idea, but that's only a flash in pan. A movement is just a flash in time. A trend is just something that's popular right now. It's fashionable right now. You always want to be classic. You want to be something that is perpetually relative. And the only thing that can ever be perpetually relative is the word of Elohim in you, manifesting out to solve and help the problems of the world by you being an ambassador of his kingdom. You want to solve the problems of the world? Yahweh's word in you does just that. It covers everything. I mean, it really does. If you honor him, you keep his Shabbat. He says, I'll ride you on the high places of the earth. If you try to make sure, because they say real estate's the new thing to do, or they say Airbnb is the new thing to do, or they say, getting a company in bundles, hair bundles is the next thing to do, or they tell you to get into cosmetology, right? These things will always be industrial, right? But when you start to brand yourself, there will always be some cannibal out there trying to buy up everything that genre represents so that they can monopolize it, control it, manipulate it. And then you'll still be left out in the cold if you don't have sustainability in yourself. So except Yahweh builds it, you're basically building on sand. He's building on a rock, because there's a difference when you become competition to something and then you become compost to something, which means that your competition burns you to the ground and then uses the compost of that burn for themselves and benefit of footing themselves, because they're going to take everything that comes with that. In that war that they won with you, they're taking all the spoils, all the trademarks, and you're out of the business. So there's a difference becoming competition, being good, solid competition, and being compost to your enemy, to your competition. So when Yahweh builds the house, he doesn't build you on sand. He builds you on a rock to stay. Nobody can move you. You're unshakable. The thing that I love about this, and I hope that this becomes important to you to realize, is that when Yahweh builds your business, when Yahweh builds your brand, when Yahweh builds your genre of what you now commit all your energy to, your labor to, your work to irksomeness for, Whether 10 people patronize you or 10,000, you will always exist. There's this thing called feast or famine. And in many of our industries, there's feast and famine. But what we did with that whole narrative, that whole statement, that whole phraseology is say, when I'm feasting, I'm winning. When I'm in famine, I'm losing. And that's not how that works in agriculture. You have to have famine for the feast to be effective. Because in famine, things die, but they die naturally because of the ecosystem that Yahweh put in place. So when the famine season comes, what dies becomes proper compost, fertilization for the up and coming seed. When a tree falls in the forest, it falls and becomes a provision for so many more elements that are in that forest you and I with our natural eyes can't see. That tree becomes fertilizer, food, herbivores, grub, creeping things, all suddenly take on, consume that tree, and then go about life. It's an ecosystem. So when you and I talk about feast and famine, we think feasting is we succeeding, we all winning, keep it going, keep it going. But once we go into famine, stop, shut it down, be done with it, abandon. No. Here's another phrase we misinterpret. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So if you abandon an idea from Elohim, or you abandon an idea that you think is successful, it feasted for a while because it's in famine, someone's going to come along and pick up right where you left off. And the famine you left was fertilizer for their new beginning. I'm talking deeper than y'all ever going to really say amen to.
Amen. Amen.
I'm going to sip my tea right there. I want that to sink in. But here's the catch now, back to the service piece. If you build a company and you are your only success because you built something that people said, oh, this is a commodity that people want, as opposed to this is something people actually need. The commodity that people want thrusts you into salesmanship in perpetuity, which people will make you run rings around the Milky Way to satisfy them and justify them giving you this fee for your services. But they get you to run around the Milky Way just so they can buy the one thing you put on sale and gave a price for. But you had to run around the Milky Way to get that price. That's not worth it. See, when Yahweh builds it, you don't have to run around the Milky Way. You ran around the Milky Way to produce this product, and you found out the problem. Now you just have to let people who want it and desire it and see its value take it. If you have to constantly stroke people to be in your presence, the moment you lose your hands for whatever reasons, or have lack of mobility therewith, those people you've been stroking are gonna go to the next stroker. Let me give you another analogy. I remember I was in Orlando, and we had started a church in what we call Four Corners. That was at the very joint of 4 counties. I mean, the very joint of 4 counties was in that city. And it was a mixture of ethnicities and faith systems. But Christendom is what we were doing. So we were building an outlet there. It was a very good process. It was good success. But one of the people came to us in a meeting for our ministry there and said, if we want the ministry to grow as big as yours in Orlando, we need to do on Wednesdays a hamburger and hot dog Wednesday, so that parents who get off of work, who want to come to church, don't have to cook for their families, and they can get here quicker. We can put the children in the back, let them do their homework, and we can feed them hamburgers and hot dogs just to get mom and dad here. Now, on a church builder's concept, that goes in alignment with church building. I looked at these beautiful people and I said, we can't do that. They said, but that's how the people will come. I said, so what happens when we run out of hamburgers and hot dogs? Well, God will fix it. That means he didn't start it. Yahweh is not going to have us make an exchange for your participation. He works on it if then. If you come to him, then he provides. You're telling us people don't want to hear about your God unless you're supplying their need. Then the God of our salvation isn't what they're after. They're actually after the God of Mammon. Because I got to prove that God will provide for you first before you come in some form of commitment. But what happens when we run out of the supplies that drug you and drew you in? You're going to go to wherever those supplies are, and that's where you pledge your loyalty. So your loyalty wasn't to the God of our salvation. Your loyalty was to the God of provision, i.e. Mammon. Needless to say, they argued amongst themselves, and it brought out their true natures. Now, we still have many of those people with us, but we had to let that go. And we never, ever want to be the place that says, we're going to give you free gas if you come to church. We're going to give you hamburgers and hot dogs if you come to our church. We're the church alive and we're worth the drive. We're going to give you this. We're going to give you that. You're going to have this at availability. That is not why Yahweh put his word in the earth. He put his word in the earth to reconnect us to him. You don't pay for that. You got to believe that. And then from that, if you will keep my commandments, then I'll bless you in the city. I'll bless you in the field. Now, if you just hear the church build construct, which is a very strong narrative right now in our atmosphere, you will think that that's right. That's how you build a church. I'm not here to build churches. I'm here to build your relationship with the Father. So whether there are 10 people coming to what we do or 10,000, we're not moved by the crowd. Except Yahweh builds that needs established outlet, everybody else is building in vain. We get these big places that sell the idea that we can do this for you and we are going to provide this for you. And the moment something happens, a scandal, maybe the death of the visionary, maybe a discrepancy amongst the board, because one wants this and one wants that. What happens to this big old church, this big old structure, this big old facility, this big old multi-purpose place, mortgaged to the hilt, and then suddenly, when there is a division inside of the leadership or the steering committee, it now begins to decay, because without the unity, we can't keep this big old thing clean, healthy, supported. Now, if there's a church split, one leader takes half the membership and goes over here to do what this was, and you keep perpetuating that same cycle. And therefore, did Yahweh build this, or did our egos and our desire to be something in community build this church, build this business? If I have to stroke you to keep you, one, you're not mine. You may have a customer base, but you don't own those customers. Your customer base should be with you because you provide a product that they know has value and efficacy in their life. And if you're doing that, you ain't never got to worry about losing patronage because they're coming for a real thing. You don't have to have gimmicks and lights and pyrotechniques and galas and events that keep people happy because of a misperceived ideology of Maslow's theory of relativity, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Whether there are 10 here or 10,000, Apostle Jones is always going to be here. Even if those 10 or 1,000 are constantly rotating around and different people are coming, because at phases of your life, this need you may have. And as long as it's here, we're not going to tell you, and we're not going to put it on sale. We're not going to run the special. It's going to be the same every day, and it costs the same attention. And then you value that which you found as needful in your life. So to you business owners, make sure the commodity you sell meets a need beyond just your mortgage being paid. Yahweh will provide your mortgage being paid, and you will not have to bow down, kiss rings, fingers, butt sides, and be treated like a slave when you let Elohim develop out of you the need that you are to humanity. I want everybody to make this decree. Say, I am a need to humanity.
I am a need to humanity.
But except Elohim extrapolates that from you to show you the need that you are to people. There's a reason certain people gravitate to you. And there's a reason certain people who come to you, see you, and then look at you crooked inside, like, get out of here. I don't want that. Because it's still salesmanship. And that's why they leave, because you're not their need. Except Yahweh builds the house that needs you. And the need of you can be displayed through any other branding we do. In many cases, we will labor in vain. And that storefront, that factory is laid ruin. You see time and time again in society, factories are laid ruin. They're wastelands. Now they're dangers to our society. We got to go and implode them and bring them down for children get hurt innocently playing around in these ruins. Because needs change, phases, trends. Things that go viral today will be a byword tomorrow. Except Yahweh builds the house. What Yahweh builds never, ever becomes non-relevant. It is always in need. So to you pastors, stop building your church to get people. Be who you are to help people know who he is. So many people are clamoring to know who they are. Just be consistent with his word. You're going to make mistakes. They may see you make a mistake, but they see how you still become something that did not get demolished because of how you operated the word and understood your faith with him. People need to see you. Be consistent to his word, and that will brand you. That's how people know you are his. Branding 101. And guess what? When it's done that way, you don't have to blow your own horn. You don't have to pay for advertising, television, internet, or billboards. Yahweh brands you. Oh, that's called the anointing. When he smears that cup, he branded you. This cup is mine. Let me brand it. This cup serves me. It don't serve you. Think about that. Messiah said these words, I don't think we really grab. Messiah said to his disciples before he died, he says, I must need go to Samaria. He also then says, I must have this meal with you, my Talmudim, before I leave. He then has the meal with his Talmudim. And then he looks up and says, I need to wash your feet. One gentleman, so churchy, so religious, says, you're not going to wash my feet. He says, if I don't wash your feet, you have no part in me. We've heard that preached, Apostle, man. What you talking about? Listen, here. He says, I didn't come to be served. Even though you know I'm the new high priest, I didn't come to be served. I didn't come to have armor bearers. I didn't come to have people following me. I came to serve you. But because of the image of the high priest, you can't understand that. They want you to serve them. They want you to see them as high and lifted up. I, the high and lifted up one, comes to serve you so you can be high and lifted up. I didn't come to be served. I came to serve you. Whether there are 12 of you, 120 of you, or 3 or 4 or 5,000 of you, my purpose is consistent. It's always going to be here. My name is Apostle B.W. Jones. I'm talking to you today about the next big thing, the next big trend, the next big movement. Movements, things, and trends dissipate, disappear, vanquish, vanish, end, expire. But Yahweh's word is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Make sure the commodity that you put forward as something associated with you and you are the ambassador for that thing, make sure that it is an Elohim approved commodity. Oh, the only one is your life mixed with his word. So to all of you right now, I do not say abandon customer service. I'm saying some of your consumers, every consumer is not a patron. And some consumers are con artists. And because you have a commodity and there is a concept that if you have a commodity, the customer is always right. And if your commodity is just for you to make money, then the only way that customer is going to be able to give you money is that you make them feel like they're right as long as I get that bread. But if your commodity has integrity and cannot change, and you have given the best concession value for this commodity, you should never have to kiss a butt, a foot, a hand, and run around Mars or the Milky Way to let that exchange happen. It's either for you or it's not. I know the value of this, and I'm not discounting it for anybody. My knowledge, when I do your hair won't fall out under my hands. Now, if you want somebody to lie it, dye it, and fry it, go down the street. Over here, we grow it. If you want, in fact, for your web page to be something that people can say will not be hacked if they come on your platform, then we can provide you a web page that has all of the integrities of what I went to school for. But if you want something that is going to be some cheap thing that somebody got on a YouTube channel, they can put a little placket up there and say, hey, at least you got a web page, you got presence, but your presence is compromised. Then you go over there to that, because the value of what we do here costs this. And it is integrally done. You want that just to look like you have proper presence? Go ahead and good luck. I don't even believe in luck, but good luck. And I hope you make it through the security breaches that will come if you ever should get successful. Don't ever skim. If you know your quality and what you do is for the benefit of the people and not just for you to make money, not just for you to have wealth, that type of wealth without Yahweh's hand of integrity on you and it really serving a need that people actually have, and they may be able to do it themselves, but they might not have the time to do it. But they will say, you do it the way I would do it, so I'll patronize you because I don't have time to do it. But I know that if I get it from you, I'll pay the $100. No, they're selling over there for $30 over there, but it's cheap. It's not that. But what you do is the way I would do it. I'll make that exchange. And you don't ever have to have, they'll never ask you for a discount because they know the value of it. But today we have these things that are trending that are tantamount to scams. Get the money from the people for this commodity before they find out they didn't need it. That's a trend. That's a movement. Doesn't mean the movement's integral. Doesn't mean the trend is integral. It's a flash in the pan. Get the money while you can. I hope I'm helping somebody today. Y'all not talking to me.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
I got a couple of minutes. I am, wow, pretty good. I only talked for an hour today. I got the whole message out. Anybody got a thought or a question about it before we go? The reason that we came here is because he that builds an house, listen closely, except Elohim builds that house, they that labor in vain. Except Yahweh is the watchman over your city, you wake up but in vain, trying to figure out how to do it. Yahweh will guide you. It is vain for you to rise up early, sit up late, eat the bread of sorrows. Because Yahweh gives his beloved, those who underhand him and are in him, he gives his beloved sleep. I need 5 business people right now who are on this platform to say these words with me. I desire that sleep.
I desire that sleep.
That means that when you're in him and he's building your house, it's going to be stable, whether you are asleep or you are awake. It is vain for you to rise up early. But they tell you the early bird gets the worm. Anybody ever heard that?
Yes.
Well, here's the question. Let me ask y'all realistically. Does the early bird get the worm? Or does every bird get the worm?
Everybody.
Every bird.
Think about that. The early bird doesn't get the worm. Just because you see the bird early eating a worm doesn't mean that that bird got the worm because he got there early. The reason that the bird gets the worm is because Yahweh relocated the bird from its water habitat and said, I'm relocating you to the earth. I will supply your need in the earth because I displaced you from the waters. See, until you go back and read Genesis chapter 1, you don't know that the bird was not made from the same space that the gorilla and the giraffe and the elephant and the human were made from. They were made the day before, which all things made that day were made in the waters. And then Yahweh said, everything with feathers and everything that flies with wings, every fowl of the waters, I want y'all all to relocate to the earth, because I'm going to give a new dominant species authority over you. You don't have to go back there. I'm going to feed you myself. Just be obedient. That's why Yeshua used the story in Matthew 6. Consider the birds of the field, birds of the air. They don't work. They don't toil. Let me ask a question to the platform. Do birds sow seeds purposefully?
No, they don't.
Nope.
Do they manage harvests?
Nope.
Sir.
It's a tool. No.
Do they dig out irrigation channels for water to get to the trees that they live in?
No.
No, sir.
Nope.
Do you ever think about the birds whenever it rains, that they don't really need cover? They just get in their feathers, duck their head down, because their bodies are made from water. That water just rolls off their backs because they're made from water. So when it rains, you and I, who are made from dirt, we hide from the rain. They sit in it until the storm is over.
Wow.
And then they shake their feathers and fly high in the new scent of that fragrance after the rain. That's why Messiah said, consider the birds. They don't toil, yet my heavenly Father feeds them. So wait a minute. That puts a big buckshot hole in this statement. The early bird gets the worm. That is a lie from the pit of hell. Because Yahweh says, the birds don't toil, the birds do not sow, yet my Father, Yahweh, feeds them. He didn't say get here early or get here late. He said, move to the dirt and I'll take care of what you got need of. Thank you, fowl, for your obedience to move from the water. I got you. When you come over here, just do what I say. Except Yahweh builds the house. They that labor in vain. Okay.
I love it.
I hope that this made sense to many of you. Are there any thoughts today as we talk about, in fact, the next big thing, the next big trend? It's okay to participate in it, but if you're living by trends, that's a problem for a kingdom ambassador. Didn't say it couldn't be a benefit, but that better not be your sustenance. Feast or famine. If there is famine, it's preparing you for feast. And if you have kept the feast seasons in proper order and discipline, when the famine time comes, you will have made it through. What do y'all think the story of Usef was about? In Egypt. That's the real definition for feast and famine. You must prepare in the feast times. Be disciplined in the feast times because the famines are coming. But those who've prepared from the feasts will be prepared when the inevitable and necessary cleansing process called famine comes. We automatically slide into famine being negative. Famine, like storms, are mandatory in an ecosystem. Just a little tidbit. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. Anybody want to have a comment or share? We got a couple of minutes. I got 15 minutes. Anybody got a thought? Maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't like it, maybe you got a question, maybe you want to try and reconcile something. I'm here for all that smoke. Bring it. Let's chat about it. No argument, I'm just saying. Did it help any business owners realize that if you got to kiss the butt of a consumer, no disrespect, and I said this because this is my program. I say what I want. And it's respectful. But if you got to kiss the backside and you got to do all these different things to keep your customers, one, they're not your customers. That's like churches. Oh, my membership, my peoples, they not your people. They Yahweh's people. They're looking for ways to know him, and you say you can provide some help. But what we've done is we've hijacked the people trying to get to know the Father. And we've corralled them in to our empire that talks about the Father, but never really elevates them to the Father unless they elevate whoever made the stables. And Yahweh didn't make the stables in most cases. I know I just got myself in a world of trouble with that statement.
Ambassador Charlotte.
Shalom, Ambassador. How are you today?
Shalom, Apostle. I just want to ask you this question, and you can tell me if it's my flesh and not if I'm not spirit. Rebukable, trainable, teachable, and correctable. But like I noticed a lot of you, I want to say kingdom teachers, y'all teaching the truth, but you tread lightly in some cases because, Apostle, we've got to face it. I have faced what's more important to me is my eternity, where I'm going to spend eternity. Mm-hmm. And I realize that when I stand, I'm not going to be holding anybody's hand. So I want the truth. I want the if they said King James mistranslated it, I want the truth. And I'm hungry for the truth. Mm. And you could tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm not going to apologize when I know that the foundation, like Nehemiah, I mean, it's like you kingdom apostles that know the truth, but you tread lightly. Is that not to offend anybody so they shut the door and you won't?
No.
You won't make the tune.
The question you're asking me is whatever that group is, us kingdom-minded people and apostles who know the truth, tread lightly. Mm-mm. I dropped the word like it's hot. You deal with it. So treading lightly would mean not dropping information. Messiah, when he walked on the earth, he didn't tread lightly. He only dropped the word. You either got with it or you didn't. Bottom line, there's a song by Black Sheep. If you don't mind me doing this, the song by Black Sheep, some of my favorite rappers back in the days. And you're like, well, why are you using secular stuff to make a spiritual point? Well, just listen. The Black Sheep, the song says, you can get with this or you can get with that. But this is where it's at. So when I can show you truth, provide proof that is truth. And like you said, whether it's a translational issue or a translational or transliteration issue through the KJV, through the NIV, through whatever versions of these sacred writings we have, right? However you preference your organization. My job is to live what I know. And if you really want different than what you have, and you think that what we're doing shows you a better image of what you have aspired to in your mind, you'll naturally gravitate to it. When I walk through town, like Messiah, when he walks through town, people think he went in preaching. He didn't. The only person we know of that went in preaching to any city was Yochanan the Baptist, John the Baptist. He went in and said, guys, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Repent, because he's at hand. He's here. Repent from the way you've been doing Torah so we can get back to Torah, because the kingdom of Elohim in Yeshua HaMashiach is in the earth. I don't know where he's at right now, but he's in the earth. And when Yochanan preached that, we took it as Christians as if we're supposed to be walking in boldly, kicking down people's doors and telling the pastors of the church, you're wrong. Even John the Baptist, knowing Messiah was on the earth, didn't go pushing in the doors of the priests, the high priest, the temple, and tell them you're a bunch of whatevers. He went to the king and told Herod, but he preached that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Then when the kingdom of heaven manifested to him, and that's what embodied Yeshua HaMashiach, he says, behold, here it is. And then Messiah, being baptized, a sign from heaven, says, hear ye him in whom I am well pleased. He walks, he walks through the earth for 3.5 years, and all he does is go into cities. People see him. They're curious. He's not preaching. He's not crying, woe unto you Pharisees, until the Pharisees try to get at him because they were jealous of the people following him. Why are you following this man? Messiah never said anything back to them until they say something to him to discredit those who are inquiring of him, his understanding of the Torah. We're the ones who teach you that. Who is this person? What's your pedigree? What tribe are you from? Who's your mother is Miriam? Oh, you're the one that said you had some holy experience. Discredit this man. He never preached against them. He just dropped science and kept moving. And as he kept walking, people kept asking questions. He'd stop, answer their questions. He'd sit with them for hours and answer their questions. He did not push Torah on them. He demonstrated it. And the people were like, that just makes sense. No, and he broke it down why it makes sense. You don't have to push, browbeat, punch, drop, scream from the top of the mountains. Anything that's in the word of Elohim, show it, drop it like it's hot, put it on display, try to live consistently it. And when a person asks you a question about who you are, whose you are, you have an answer that is vettable in your governance. And people will determine in their own mind, not by any smooching over, or I'm like you, Ambassador. I don't coddle people. You can get with this or you can get with that. When I was selling dope, I had the best dope on the block. You want that cut down stuff? Go over there. But what we got right here costs this. There it is. And it's for you. But don't come at me talking about, oh man, no. What I got is quality, high quality, the best quality, and I don't do nothing less. You want that? You can get with this or you can get with that. That's your choice. Well, prove to me. I ain't got to prove nothing. You want it or you don't. You ain't gonna fight for nothing. Fight for what? You a free will moral agent. Do what you want to do. Choose this day who you're going to serve. My job is only to be a demonstration and a display for my convictions. If I fight with you because of what I believe and you don't believe it the way I believe it, that's not me tearing the devil's kingdom down. That's actually me bringing division amongst a people who are supposed to be demonstrating his kingdom. In the kingdom, follow peace with all men. That's holiness. You like that over there? You do what you want to do. Here's what I know. Now, you asked me. I didn't push it on you. I didn't kidnap you. I didn't knock you out and throw you in the van and then make you come to church. You saw me living. You asked me how. I shared with you how. And if you had more questions, I'm ready to answer them too. But the choice is still yours. You cannot knock somebody over the head, drag them like a caveman dragging a wife into the cave and say, "You won't be mine. Me, Tarzan, you now, Jane." Here's the deal. I'm living life this way. This is what it looks like. You ask me, here is the kingdom on a platter to you. You choose whether you want to eat that meal. You choose whether you want to have that as your new diet. But you got to choose. Hopefully, I'll remain consistent in my lifestyle with you, in front of you, about his kingdom. Me screaming from the tops of the roof, all these devils and demons has got to be killed, and God said this. Yeah, we say what Elohim says. Every time we read his writ, every time we open our mouths, every time we walk our steps, every time we keep our lights so lit before men, the word does the arguing. We just have to make sure we know the word and drop it. It will argue with the person long after I'm gone. That's why we say don't shoot the messenger. Mic drop. Ambassador, does that help a little bit?
Yes, sir. Apostle, one thing you always say about beating on doors, I've never been a Jehovah's Witness, but I do believe in crusades. And like you said, I live my life. People see my life. They know my struggles, and they see how Yahweh has kept me.
Mm-hmm.
So they do approach me. So at that time, that's when I tell them, he has no respect of person. Is that okay? That's when I be a witness to them and tell them, if he did it for me, he'll do it for you.
And that's perfectly fine. I come from a ministry that was called Crusaders for Christ. That's where I heard him. Yeah, well, that's who we were under Apostle T.R. Malone. Now,
yes, sir.
They have since gone on. I am a direct son of that ministry. I have nothing but complete, sheer, total love, right? Now, what we did was we went into streets of Philly, streets of Camden, streets of New York, streets of Jersey, and we would set up campaigns and get a mercantile license, sit on a block, whether we went to the Philadelphia Zoo or we went downtown Center City, or we went to wherever we went, we got a mercantile license and we sat there and we just preached. People would stop by and hear what we're talking. And now that you think about it in hindsight, we may have been sort of kind of noise pollution, but it's like good noise pollution. But at the end of the day, we did it to get the gospel out, and whoever would hear it, let them hear it. Some people will walk by not disdaining that we're doing it, but that it was loud and like, why are you here? You have a building for that, don't you? Go do that over there. So they were, I'm thinking now in hindsight, they were disdaining the fact that not the content, but you're thinking you got the right, that's not how you're going to win me. I don't need the sensationalism of it all. And to each his own. But I come from that background. I got the van and the bus together every Saturday before I started keeping Sabbath, and got the microphones, got the monitors, got the chairs, gathered the people, drove to the cities, set it up, broke it down, came home, broke my nail, broke my finger, dropped the microphone on my foot, dropped the amplifier on my leg. I did all of the things necessary to putting together church outside. So I'm with it. But us knocking on doors is an invasion of privacy. When Messiah told the disciples to go 2 by 2, go into Jerusalem, knock on the doors, listen. Y'all answer me a question. Great point. Thanks for bringing this up, Ambassador. Who did Messiah come to? Y'all know there's a famous phrase. Who did Messiah come to? He came to
His own.
His own.
And they received him not.
He came to his own received him not. So when Messiah was on the earth, did he come to the Gentile?
Not at all.
No.
He came to his own. So the ones he came to were ones supposedly looking and waiting for the Messiah. Is that not right?
Correct.
So when he told his Talmudim, go 2 by 2, track and cover as much space in Jerusalem, not in Asia, not in Ephesus, not in Corinth, not in Galatia, not in Pergamos. He says, go to our people who are expecting the Messiah, knock on their door and tell them that the Messiah is now here. If they receive you, enter in with your shalom. If they do not receive you, shake the dust off your feet, because they're supposed to be looking for me. When you tell them I'm here and they say we don't care, shake the dust off your feet. Where we went wrong in Christendom was thinking we were doing what he did by going out to the masses. That's not what he did. He sent them to those who were looking for him and said, hey, y'all, he's here. Man, get out of here. He ain't here. And we heard about this guy you with. Caiaphas told us. The Levites told us. We ain't following that mess. And then some like, oh, really? I saw that, man. I'm thinking, receive them. Give them the shalom. So we took this whole evangelism piece as if our life demonstrating him was standing on the street corners, standing on the rooftops, proclaiming he's here. It's not something you can't do. It's just not what he told us to do. What he did say was that a light on a candle is not under a bushel. It is lit in the position it stands, and that position draws others in darkness to the very light. The candle didn't go to darkness. Those in darkness came to the candle. That's just what it is. So I came from that. I knocked on doors. I have to repent for that every day. We got communities right now that say no soliciting. I now look back at that and look as if I am a Eureka vacuum cleaner salesman. The product may be good. It may actually clean your floors. But if I force it on you and something goes wrong, you're going to sue the heck out of me. Because you were minding your business sitting at your dinner table, and I knocked on your door knowing you'd be home at dinner time, to sell you a vacuum cleaner because I knew that's how I could get your attention, because I don't have a conventional building and I don't have marketing money to advertise to you through the traditional means of free enterprise. So I'm going to be and use ingenuity and effort and passion, which are all great traits and qualities. But that's not what Messiah did. He didn't go to them selling them anything. He simply said, what we've been waiting for is here. Come and meet him. Get out of here. Okay, bye.
Excuse me, Apostle, you have 2 messages on YouTube.
I can't see it. Y'all gotta help me. Thank you. Great ad and great value, Ambassador. I hope you don't leave and want to talk some more about that. Let me get some of these other cues out of the space here. I had a few minutes. All right, go. What's I got? Brianna Sanago. How do you bring kingdom into the workplace? Y'all ready for this? This is profound. Pay attention. Y'all pull out your pay attention accounts. Hey, open up your bags. This is going to be deep. This is going to be profound. Y'all listen. Put them on hold for a second. I know y'all at work, but tell them, hold, excuse me 1 second. Put your ear to the screen. Put your ear to the microphone. This is going to be deep. This is going to be prolific, profound. Y'all ready? Listen. Question is, how does one bring kingdom into the workplace? Show up to work.
Yeah.
The kingdom is now in you. Let me share something with y'all. Oh, that wasn't profound. That was it. Yeah, that was it. I ain't got nothing else for you. That's the profound statement. Show up to work.
Yes,
How do I bring kingdom into the workplace? Get away from the water cooler gossip. Let not your good works be evil spoken of. All of that's the word. Manifested and demonstrated out of you. You are the kingdom. Live it. You do not have to go preach it. You do not have to be, thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not, you ain't got to be that one. Just live it. People try to drag you and draw you into conversations, draw you into drama, draw you into gossip, draw you into taking Post-it notes home, drag you into taking extra ink pens home, drag you into taking 10 minutes extra on your break, talking about everybody do it. You live by the SOPs of that company. And you stand flat-footed on the fact that I got a contract with this organization and I am to, in business, be men. I am to obey them that have rule over me here. I can't come to work late. I can't take my break too long. I can't be taking products from here because it will actually, I need it at the house. You can't take toilet paper in your big old Michael Kors bag home. You can't take Post-it notes. You cannot take extra tablets. You can't talk about, I'm going to do some work at home. No, you're not. You know, I got extra. No, stop. Bring the kingdom into work. That's what you do. You're the kingdom. Live it. People are watching you, whether you like it or understand it or not. Be intentional about living Torah. Be intentional about following the rules. That is how you bring kingdom into your workplace. It's funny, because the narrative that we have of Christians today in the workplace is, there go that Christian. You supposed to be a Christian. The only reason they could ever say that to you is because you told them in probably a negative way, a judging way, I'm a Christian. We don't do that. Your actions should say, you and I are different. And it don't mean that I got to say, I'm a Christian. Let them ask you, what makes you different? I notice you don't rock like we rock. You do. You should have snapped on that boss when they said that to you. I noticed you didn't snap on it. We all justified you. All of us over here, we saw what happened. She said, but you didn't snap. Why you ain't snap? You could have told them off and we'd all backed you up. Yeah, but I got to follow peace with them. Now, I'm not going to be abused, but there is another process I can go through to get that point done. And remaining, watch this, discipline through the encounter. People are watching you, always be an immaculate ambassador of the kingdom. That's how the kingdom is seen in darkness. Hope that answered your question, Brianna. What do we got on cue? Who's next? I like that, Bishop. Bishop said integrity. I like that, Bishop. Danielle Hawkins says, be intentional. I like that. Who's next? Okay, Brianna has a second question. As far as implementing it in our day-to-day work method, let's say in the field of sales, when we have targets to meet, again, that means that the company you're working for is only in it for the money. Doesn't mean you stop working until Yahweh and you let him know, I now identify that my company and its quota. If you got a quota drive, and people are being fired for not making the quota, and people are trying to make the quota and by any means necessary, the spirit behind this service is just about money. No matter how we package its ability to be something people want. And that's the big thing. And I want believers to understand this. You want to be in a place that provides need. Need is always going to be need. Want changes. And if you kind of make want a need, you're going to be responsible for selling it. And a lot of the salesmanship will be lies that have to be told, will be lies that have to be told to get that sale. And then that's a whole different, a domino effect of other issues and things that happen. So, the question is one, I don't want to say leave your company. That ain't what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, if in fact we got to meet quotas before I take any kind of job, and if I got to settle for sales job because I got to make money, I also have to have a moral standard inside of me that says, well, first off, the job I'm taking, I got to consider whether I want to take that. If we're selling the average MLM, yeah, miss me with that. If this is a groundbreaking product that needs the traction of the construct of making a product available to the people, but I believe in the product, you won't have a problem meeting your sales quota. And that's a whole nother counseling session that I do with people. So we can talk more about that later, but just as a broad stroke for the group at large that hears this, quotas tell me a lot. There is nothing wrong with a brand new product that is meeting the need of a people needing a quota because we had to borrow money to get you guys hired to get this product out. And we're hoping the 10 people we hired, we've estimated in our math that if the 10 people get 10 sales a day, we should be able to sustain and grow and scale up this way, and not just to meet the plans of our investors, but we can meet our budget and do everything if 10 people get 10 sales a day. That kind of quota is cool. The average quotas you guys are getting right now are The baseline would say 10. I'm in management, y'all. I'm telling y'all what we do. Okay, I'm just telling y'all what we do. So if you're in that kind of situation where they say, okay, well, the base is 10 people getting 10 sales, will be good. But the management that thinks that it excels and exceeds, it says, well, we're going to double that because we don't want people lacking off. Because it's true, people do who don't have this same passion for this commodity because they didn't make this commodity. They actually just took a job, and this happened to be the job. The commodity happened to be the job. They're not really sold on this. They don't really believe in this. So people say behind the scenes to offset that particular piece, 10 people, they got to get 20 sales a day.
Rogers.
Unrealistic. But if we put that out there, we'll be shooting for the stars, but we'll fall short at the moon. Either way, we'll still be out of our space that keeps us in the black. And when you start having that now, 10 people get 20, that becomes the gospel. But the real gospel was 10 get 10. You see the lie on top of that? And now any new people coming in, they hear 10 is 20. They think that that is the gospel. They think that that is the foundation. They think that that is the floor. And the people up top trying to make sure they get their money back or whatever that looks like, this may just be an investment for them, but the person who made the commodity has been bought out. There's just a lot to it. I gave y'all probably more than y'all need, but I think if you understand how it really works on the backside, because we don't think about it, though we know it. You know how you know something, but you don't really think about it? That's where we are right now. So if you're doing cold calling, if you're doing whatever, if your commodity is what it is, and you're being forced into cold calling, that's a way that they're saying, this is how we get our product out until we can be a household name. Once you're a household name, people see your value. The problem is some household names are just sheer want, not need. They are popular, so people buy it. If you stop to think about it, a shoe is a shoe. But if a shoe has Burberry, or I was corrected the other day about how to say Burberry. See, I'm American. I say Burberry. I had some people from the UK call me and say, Mr. Apostle Man, it's Burberry. It says Burberry. That's how we announce that here in this America. Well, sir, pardon me, but it's Burberry. So if you have a shoe, whether it's a running shoe, a dress shoe, a sandal, it meets the need of foot protection. You pay for the name of some designer whose society may have a popularity for. And if you got his shoe or her shoe, it's worth this. You're paying for a name, not the technology, unless the technology is inextricably connected to the name. So if I buy a shoe, I don't buy the shoe because it's Nike. I don't buy the shoe because it's, Madden or Steve McQueen. I buy it because the technology is superior. Because there are some brands that you may not have ever even heard of, and their quality is better than the brands that are popular. But people will succumb to the popular purchase because though it's a good quality, nobody knows this. And they'll be looking at you, scoffing at you, saying, that's not popular. I can't be wearing them. Y'all remember the song years ago, back in the day? Y'all might not like this, but I'm going to take y'all back into an American time in the 79, 77, 80, 81, actually like 76 to 70, 76 to 80. There was a song we used to sing after a brand called Converse had come out. Converses are the shoes with the star on it, like the Dallas Cowboys star. The star looks a little bit like this on my cup. That's the Converse sign, right? And before Julius Irving and Larry Bird and Michael and Magic Johnson started wearing the Converse, then they had another company called Pro-Keds, right? And they had 2 stripes on the side, not the 3 stripes of Adidas. I'm a sneakerhead, so I'm gonna give you history. But we sang a song as children. If you didn't have on Converses or Pro-Keds, and we saw you in just a pair of fish head cloth sneakers, athletic apparel, we would sing a song as you walk by. And here's how the song went. Bobos, they cost $1.49. Bobos, they make your feet feel fine. Bobos, you got some Bobos, you got those Bobos. We called them Bobos because they didn't have a name brand to them. In my ignorance, thinking that was cool, those Bobos lasted longer than some of the sneakers that we thought. And now with this whole Jordan craze and Nike craze and Adidas craze and Yeezy craze and all these shoes that people got on, the Uggs and the Cugs, and it's just ridiculous. It's just a name. People enhanced a need and made it cost more because of a name. But as needs go, all I need is shoe protection that ties up, keeps my feet dry, gets me over rough patches, dirt, rocks, glass, without injury to my foot. It's a big difference. I know I went way out into the left field with that one, but I hope that made sense to y'all. Y'all know that song Bobos? Y'all ever hear that song Bobos? If you wore Bobos, you wasn't cool. If you wasn't wearing Converses, if you wasn't wearing Pro-Keds, if you wasn't wearing Jack LaLanne's, you was wearing Bobos.
Yeah, they laughed at
You got laughed at. And as a child, that began to create and nurture a narrative that you got to always be in fashion. And that's why y'all wear a lot of stuff y'all wear right now. You will buy product from a shop that's subpar just because a name is on it. Elder Rogers, you had a question. What you got?
Yes, sir. I've been studying in Shalom to everyone. I've been studying in Luke chapter 16, and it talked about the servant, the steward. And when the question came, you were talking about employees taking and pilfering things. How would that relate to that servant who was going to get fired, in essence? And then he took all the accounts and told the people, the debtors, to alter the bill, alter how much was what they owed, so that when he got fired, they would, take him in or give him, whatever he needed.
Yeah. That's not quite how that goes, but
I read that and I really didn't understand it, especially in that analogy or that parable when Yeshua said that the children of the world are more wiser.
That's all. Yeah, the two don't go together. But the thing about the children of the world, as opposed to and what he was talking about, the children of, there's two phrases that we don't put together rightly. One of the phrases is to be as wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. We just think the dove is pure and the serpent is a bad thing. So the serpent is the devil, the liar, the fruit eater, and all that stuff. And that's not that. Another one is that the children of this world, the children of the world, are wiser than the children of light. It does not mean the children of light that he's referencing are the children in the body. Of light means hanging around. So church folk, religious folk, because we can get so caught up in the ceremonialism of the charges that we forget, trying to be pious, that you still have to have a sense of ingenuity. You still have to be wily. Another phrase we can throw into the mix here is in business, be men. Business requires you to utilize whatever the laws are to your maximum potential, which means you can push the envelope, just don't break the law. And sometimes we say bending to get there is wrong. If it don't break, it ain't wrong. So when that man said, hey, this is within fair reason, up the bill, because I'm about to lose mine, up the bill, maximize my profit line. He didn't say lie. He didn't manufacture an unreasonable concession price. And that's why this conversation probably should be its own preceding word. You know, Elder Rogers, I got a program for, let me look. I have a program for this week for Friday. Maybe I can talk about that. Would you like that? Because this I'm not going to be able to get that covered in this.
Yes, sir. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
And Yahweh praise.
Thank you for adding value, but attempting to get through it with that. Because now we're shifting into another piece. But I don't think people don't preach about that story because the average person on this call has no idea what she's talking about, or maybe you got a flash in the plan about it in your head. And you're like, well, what is the story? We'll break the whole story down for you, because we've misused it so much and it's been so badly preached from the intention of the author that we just generalized it and let that suffice and said nothing else about it. But we really need to understand that to be as wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove is an actual instruction. And we just assume that the serpent is evil. And then to say that you have the children of this world are wiser than the children of light, because religion can brainwash you. Religion can make you become sheeple and tell you, oh, just do what we say do. And those telling you what to do are the ones bending and breaking the laws and then telling you, you got to stay within these confines. We'll talk more about that on Friday. I'm willing to get into that conversation. Would y'all like that, or y'all find that not necessary advice on how to operate in the kingdom?
Very necessary. Love it. You know, I want it.
Cool. Mods, do I have anything else?
No, sir.
Awesome. To all who have come and graced our presence today on this topic of the next big thing, the next big trend, the next big movement, it's really not clickbait. It is understanding from a kingdom's perspective how we are to operate. Except Elohim builds the house. They that labor in vain. Except Yahweh keep the city, the watchman will wake up, but in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early and sit up late, wondering and laboring and crying and murmuring, and then eat the breads of sorrows. Because Yahweh gives his beloved people, he gives them sleep in the time they're supposed to sleep. Verse 3, lo, children are an heritage of Yahweh, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. I'll talk about this part and then I'm going to end it. Verse 4 says, as arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that has his quiver full of them. So they shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with their enemies in the gate. Let me be very clear with you guys on this. Two words many people don't know about. One, what is an arrow? The arrow here is the word for chetz, okay? It is a piercer. By implication, it can cause a wound. Figuratively, if it comes from Elohim, we call it a thunderbolt. But it is the shaft of a spear. It is an archer's arrow, a dart, a staff that can cause a wound. That's what arrows are. So verse 4 says, as arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of your youth. Happy is the man who has his quiver. What is a quiver? A quiver is the word for ashpah. Okay, so ashpah means it is the same place. It is a casing for arrows. So a quiver to a man who has a bow and arrow is where he holds all of his arrows. So for a man, if he has a house full of arrows, he will never be ashamed, for his arrows, properly chained, properly trained, and properly formed by the hand of that man, they will speak to the enemies that are inside that man's gates. That conversation I'll incorporate on this coming Friday with the ideas that we talked about from Elder Rogers' question. I'm going to augment my programming, so Friday we'll talk about that. When you talk about having quiver full, that's having your house full of children. When did we stop having children? So many of you and many of us within Christendom, we're broke because we don't have children, because we were told by a system, be it eugenics, be it population control. Yahweh wanted you to have children. That's where your prosperity comes from. They are a blessing. You've been made to think, and that's why I don't like people calling their children kids, because a child is a blessing. A kid is a problem. A kid is a baby goat. A baby goat bucks against authority, does not like to be trained, is just a wild spirit, not even a free spirit. They have no associations to anything. Goats are really good for fertilizing, a little bit of milk, and a good curry goat platter. My God in Zion. But they don't like to be trained. And that's why they are easily taken down by predators. When you call your children a goat, a kid, you're giving that goat spirit on them. And then you'll wonder why they go to school and buck against authority. They're in public bucking against authority. They're at home with you bucking against your authority. Call your children kids. What they are is what you will have. Children are a blessing. Happy is the man who has his quiver full of children. They will contend with his enemy at the gate. What is an arrow? A piercing, wound providing, and the way that the craftsman points that thing out and makes it up, it works for the benefit of the quiver. We'll talk more about that on Friday. We got off track. But remember, the next big trend, the next big thing, the next big movement, except Yahweh build the house. Be careful just going with things because it's trending. Be careful of trying to do your branding the way that everybody else does branding. Branders and branding and coaches and these life coaches, they're a dime a dozen. Literally a dime a dozen. It's Black Friday still. They're probably like 8 cents a dozen now. Because, you're having the cyber sales and the Black Friday sales and stuff. I'm just putting it out there. There's a sale on,
It's too funny.
All right.
Blessings. Can I share real fast? I know you're trying to get off.
Who is this?
This is Leah.
Hi, Leah. Shalom to you.
And shalom to you, sir. God bless you.
Blessings upon your life.
Yeah, great teaching. I just love hearing truth. And I love the way that you teach as well.
Yeah, we praise.
Yeah, but it's, gosh, I'm always chuckling a lot of times when I come into your room and I do sit and listen, because I'm hearing truth, and truth is God's word,
Mhm.
right? And so what I love is that God has not made us clones. And so even when you said that coaches are a dime a dozen, he's made us unique. We're all been uniquely made, and we don't all have the same fingerprint or the thumbprint. And because of that, we're not all called to do it the same way. And so I've come into the season of embracing my uniqueness of who he has made me, to be. And I love that. It's like, yeah. And so I don't want to look like everybody else.
Right.
I just want to be, I want to be who he's made me to be. And so we're all different, but yet we're all needed,
Absolutely.
I love the body. So he speaks of us being members, but we're all one. And so we're different members, of a part of the body, but we're all one. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Thank you for your room. I really appreciate you, sir. God bless you.
You are welcome here any day, at any time, at any hour, whenever we do what we do. As a matter of fact, if you're not here, we're going to look for you. But it's true.
Yeah, somebody pinged. I think it was Spencer pinged me in the first time, and it was just such a blessing. So Spencer, remember to ping me. So
there you go. And,
yeah,
and,
amen.
and Leah, you can actually hit that green button up top, and every time we go live, you'll get that ping. In case Spencer, who is busy branding, I'm just messing, Spencer. But yeah, the point that you make is very clear, because what we talked about on Monday's preceding word was that you're wonderfully made. And earlier in this program, maybe before you got pinged in, and I want everybody to make this clear for yourselves and repeat this: I am a need of Elohim's in the earth. Say that, because y'all need to know that.
I am a need of Elohim in the earth.
I am a need for Elohim.
And we are needed. That's why you exist. I mean, think about it. When Yahweh made humanity, the first thing he says, I don't have a man to till the ground. To Elohim being the creator, that's a need. He then made man. Then he says humanity can't really be all one. So I need to separate them. 2 heads are better than 1, 4 eyes better than 2, whatever you want to call it, right? We can play with that before you think I'm being overly subjective, but that's truth. There's a need. You were made. Paul said it this way, and he gave to every human a gift. Your gift is needed. Problem is, many don't know their gift. I'm not going to open that can of worms up right now. We'll be doing Know Your Calling shortly. Anybody interested in knowing your calling? Those of you who've been asking us about it, we're going to be having that come up right after January. We'll be back into Know Your Calling, 8-week course. Prepare yourselves for it. If you don't know why you exist on the earth, you don't know what Yahweh created you for, there's a biblical way to determine what your gift is. Are you an evangelist? Are you a prophet, an evangelist, pastor, or a teacher? You're going to know it, and the word is going to show it to you, and it won't be me telling you. You're going to be like, oh, snap, that's who I am. So KYC will be coming back up. But the point was, you and I are needed. There are people that need me, and there are people I'll never reach because they don't need me. They might need you, your unique gift. He gave gifts unto men, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors, some teacher, right? That's what he gave. And I need y'all to know I am not to be somebody else's mirror duplicated image. I am fearfully, wonderfully, and uniquely made. The problem is we're trying to brand ourselves and catch the next train to success, and we lose ourselves in that process. Some things are just a means to an end. The end should always be you being who you have been uniquely and divinely created as. That's where your profit comes from. That's where fulfillment comes from. Now that I know who I am, I will never stop being who I am until the day I take my last breath. And I can't be retired out of what I do. I can't be put into a status of emeritus.
No days.
I don't ever have to retire. Y'all understand that? It's a very important thing to embrace. Andrea, you want to share something before we get off? No?
Sorry, you're talking to me, Pastor?
Yes. Did you come off mic? I thought you wanted to say something.
No, I didn't come off mic. Sorry.
Well, good to hear your voice. We miss hearing you.
Yes. Shalom.
Shalom alaikum. All right, everybody, we're going to let you guys go. Moderators, I don't have anybody else in queue, right? Thank you, Lady Leah. Thank you for sharing. It's a blessing having you here with us. I mean that. Did we get everybody out?
Yes, sir.
Do y'all know that you are needed in the earth? And the moment you come into who you are, the world, your family, your community is better for it. The enemy will fight tooth and nail to keep you from understanding and unveiling who you really are. Just want y'all to know that. I got to go. I got a Bible study tonight. Do I have a moderator that can tell me what we're going to be doing? Minister Jackie, are you here? Are you able to give announcements today? And we're going to keep it moving. All right. So tonight, listen, we're here every Wednesday at Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're on the Proceeding Word. This is it. Yours truly, Apostle V.W. Jones. We talk about matters and subjects that are within our world, trending, going viral, and how do we operate as a kingdom with these things developing and maturing around us. So that's what the Proceeding Word is about. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope that you will join in to do that. But however, on Wednesdays, we do have what we call our Bible study, where we learn from the writ all things biblical. And therefore, tonight we'll be bringing up and touching on and finishing. We're finishing November 30th. Every November, we teach all month on what the controversy of tithing is. Is it a con? Is it a commandment? And really, you know, with Messiah in the earth, he changed a lot of things. So what's this controversy around the tithe? And we take you from beginning to end, and we've showed y'all the history. Have you guys enjoyed the teaching on the controversy of the tithe, the origin and the truth?
Absolutely. Yes.
Good to hear. So that's great to hear that you guys are learning from that. We'll be back here tonight for that at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday, and we take on different topics and subjects as we teach Torah in fullness. We also have on every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, both on Clubhouse and Facebook, the one place that many people have fallen in love with, and that is the actual reading of the Bible from Genesis to Revelations, and we take it as a slow cook, a slow read, and we go through every story, unpack it and show it, and then connect it to a cross-reference of the storylines in the New Testament and the Tanakh. Also, since we are Sabbath keepers here, not only on Fridays do we have our Proceeding Word, but Friday evenings, once sundown kicks in at approximately 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, waiting for the West Coast to get in, we will start a Sabbath Midrash study where we just open up my studies and we get together and talk about it. How do you Sabbath? What is Sabbath all about? Why is Sabbath even an issue? Remember the Sabbath, or is it a commandment? What are we doing? We share everything Shabbat with you on that day from the writ. Then Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go into other subjects from Torah about how our kingdom life should be manifesting and the revelations that come with it. And we're there for many, many, many hours. You can come in and go out as you please, but we are here because it is the time and the commandment of Yahweh. Also, after the Sabbath, we have the service on Sundays, which every traditional Christian has as a Sunday morning service. Ours is called the Morrow After Shabbat service. Every Sunday at 10:15 a.m., 10:30 a.m.-ish is when we begin that program. So we're hoping that you guys have been blessed and edified. We want to speak a word over your lives. That word is called shalom. And what we mean by that, whenever we say shalom, we are not saying hello. We're not saying, hi, how you doing? No, when we say shalom to you and you are a believer, this is what we're proclaiming over your life. We're proclaiming harmony, wholeness, health, soundness of mind, completeness, fullness, rest for your soul, wealth, health, safety, tranquility, prosperity, perfectness, and welfare for your being. So we speak shalom over your life. And of course, we are going to do those things in a grander way at another time coming soon. But remember, you're here on the Proceeding Word. We love having you. Hope that you'll tune back in anytime you get a chance or catch these in archives on any of our broadcast places. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. I am going to get out of here. You guys go have fun. I'll see you back here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, I'll be in the studio, not here. I'll be preaching from our whole platform, our studio platform. Then we'll see you for Bible study at that time. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful and dynamic day. Remember, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, our Elohim.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that this message has been a blessing to your very life and your soul, and more importantly, your walk with the King. Well, we have come to the end. I hope that you would consider becoming either a partner with us in ministry, or if you're not already a kingdom citizen, consider becoming one. By doing that, you can sow into this ministry so that we are able to continue to teach this type of ministry at a grand scale. Join us on all of our social media platforms and visit our webpage to make your contributions sure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Shalom Aleichem.